What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here. Today, I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive of something I suspected was going on and kind of hinted at previously, but I hadn't done like any real research on it other than looking at like one player. And that is, since the summer, it feels like the gap between base and silver, hollow, whatever, has gotten wider. As in, the silver goes up 50% over X period of time, but the base only goes up 20% over the same time period, making that gap a lot wider. You know, the hate for base has been around for a while now. I don't know exactly when it started. I think late last spring, and things kind of, started spiraling from there. Some people said it was overrated. Some people said it was properly rated, but I think we're really starting to see it on the price moves on a lot of these cards now, for good, bad, or indifferent. So what I did, diving into market movers, link in the description down below, went through and looked at about 6 different players, all NBA, all from the last 3 years, the usual suspects: Ja, Zion, Luka, Tatum, and Mitchell. I went with for the purposes of this. Went with the more modern crop, and was curious of, from the midsummer. All these charts are ran from the midsummer, pretty much between July 10th and July 20th. I had to cherry pick a little bit just to find, because I like to start the charts on a day where there are sales of the same card if possible, which the base on most of these isn't a problem. Sometimes finding one on a silver can be a little tricky, and I wanted to go from when it was relatively at its flat period. I didn't pick the lowest sale of the summer or anything like that, so I tried to get even days to match everything up. But generally speaking, these charts start in mid-July and run through November 1st here. And we are going to notice an alarming, I don't know if it's alarming is the right word, but the hate for base continues and seems like it's elevated over the last, what would that be, 4 months now, 3 months, 4 months now. So I used all base Prism PSA 10 base versus Prism PSA 10 silver. With one exception, I did expand out on Luka to look at his hollow as well. Biggest reason behind that is just, Prism is still king, especially on silvers when it comes to primary cards. So let's dig in here. Ja base Prism. Once again, since the summer, oops, I zoomed in a little too far here, is up 27%. Ja's been hot to start the year. His stuff's gotten a nice little bump. Had a slow and steady pace over the summer going up, and then obviously it's kind of gone next level here the first few weeks of the season. So his base Prism's up 27%. Not bad. If you bought in the middle of the summer, you got it for around $200, and you can move it for around $263 right now, give or take. Not terrible, not great. It's fine. His silver in the middle of the summer was going for around $1,300, $1,325, $1,350, in that general neck of the woods. Today, it's currently going for $1,950, which is an increase of 47%. So an extra 20% juice on the silver compared to his base, making that gap much, much wider than it used to be. So is this just because Ja's been hot, or can we find this example in other players as well? Maybe it's just, silver leads the charge type thing, and the base is just kind of lagging behind a little bit. Okay, let's look at Zion, who's been going down due to the news, the injuries, the conditioning videos, the whole 9 yards. Once again, base Prism, silver as well, both PSA 10s. Same thing, went from midsummer until current. His Prism base is down 20% since the summer. His silver is only down 13%. So an extra 7% splitting of the base versus the silver. So once again, base is, in this case, crashing harder versus the silver, which is holding its value a little bit better. So an inverse case of what we had with Ja. Same net result. The gap is getting wider between these two. Let's continue along here and look at some more examples. Luka. Same thing. Since the midsummer, base Prism PSA 10, silver Prism PSA 10. His base is down 4%. His base Prism is down 4% since the summer. Now, Luka, to be fair, has not had... He's been fine. The Mavericks, not so much. Luka looks like a man that's kind of stuck on a mediocre team at best, with no short-term shot at a championship. Playoffs maybe, but championship no. Regardless, though, his base Prism is at $700, down 4% since the summer. His silver Prism is up 26%. So the silver is gaining in value while the base is losing value. So that's a 30% spread since the summer, increased spread on silver versus base. Continuing along. Optic base Luka versus optic holo Luka. Just to see, I wanted to see if this was Prism specific or does it go over to some of the other sets as well? And we see almost the exact same trend. His optic holo is up, PSA 10 is up 31%. His optic base down 5%. So the optic holo is climbing and the optic base is down, once again, about a 36% gap widening since the summertime. So we've looked at John Zion, we've looked at Luka. Let's take a look at Trae and see if this follows the same path, and then we'll jump into the 2017 class. Trae Young, what do you know? Same exact thing. A little different percentage points, but base Prism down 5%, silver Prism up 22%, 27% total gap now, increased gap between those two price points. So we're seeing, once again, the percentages vary a little bit from player to player, but the trend is the same. Silver and base are continuing to split further and further apart. What I noticed was, specifically with Ja going into the season, is what kind of led me down this path, was that his silver stuff was getting nice run, and same with Luka. His silver and holo stuff was getting nice run, but base prices just were not moving. They were just staying dead flat in a lot of cases. And now we're actually seeing it tilt the other direction. Let's go to the 2017, Donovan Mitchell. This is one that he's just down across the board, but same thing, middle of the summer. Base Prism down 25%, silver Prism only down 5%. So an additional 20% drop on the base, and you know, the gap widens by 20% there between base and silver on those two. Jason Tatum, the other darling of the 2017 class, same exact thing. Base, 0% change since the summer. Silver, 34% change since the summer. So a nice little upswing there. Now, these two don't have exact sales ending on the same day. Last one on this was 10/25. Last one on that was 10/29. So maybe it would look a little bit different, but I don't think it's going to be a 34% drop for Tatum in 4 days there. So an additional 30% spread there. And like I said, you know, this has been going on for, it looks like, a little while now. And I don't know what it was prior to this. I guess I could run those numbers. You could choose selective endpoints in Market Mover, so I could go back and look at the previous 6 months. But when you go back past the summer, just everything's going down, because that was when we went in a price correction mode from the beginning of the year through the middle of the year. So what does this mean? I know whether it will be intentional or not, you guys and girls have seen what I've been doing over the last few months with trying to consolidate down into more color match, silvers, holos, whatever. Mostly silvers, holos, and color match. I've been trying to move into more and more of that stuff. Or just generally safer cards moving off of base whenever I possibly can. The Luka Optic base, I traded those in a part of a deal with some other base cards for the LeBron PSA 9 Refractor. I sold some of my Trae Young base early in the summer and put that money towards buying Trae Silvers, Trae Optic Holos, that sort of stuff. Same thing with Tatum. I have some Tatum base I still need to move. I probably sat on that a little too long, but I moved money into the Tatum checkerboard. And recently picked up the Trae Young red mosaic, that sort of stuff. The Luka optic holos. I shifted, got out of the Luka optic base in that case for the LeBron, but I put money back in the Luka with the optic holos and the mosaic and stuff like that, trying to get into more. I don't want to say lower pop, but just it is lower pop, but the stuff that just holds better and seems to be gaining a lot of steam. And I think this is just a matter of people are starting to get more attuned with the idea that are all these base cards really going to hold a ton of value going forward? Now, it's a different story the further back that you go. Obviously, LeBron base, Topps Chrome rookies, Topps paper rookies, stuff like that is always going to hold value. But that's a different era. I think if you're specifically looking, in the Prism era, I guess, the Panini era, that base is looking less and less appealing. Even as you go backwards, base pop counts get pretty low. If you look at like Embiid or Giannis, guys like that, base card population counts are pretty low, and that silvers are even lower though. So the further you go back, you get a little safer, but I still think this hate towards base kind of trickles down a little bit. Now, there will always be a place for base because people need an entry level point. You're not coming in as someone just wanting to enter into the hobby without a massive bankroll and, walking into the show and being like, oh yeah, let me pick up a couple Luka Optic Holo 10s. Let me pick up this Tatum Silver. No, you might come in with $500 and have stuff that you need to buy. Now, you might be better off buying silver PSA 9s than base PSA 10s of a similar player. Or maybe you go to, like in the case of Prism and Optic, maybe you go with an Optic Holo 9 instead of a Prism Silver 9 to save a little bit of money there, just depending on the players that you're looking at. But in general, base definitely is getting hit harder. Even in the stuff that's going up, you're making money on it, but you're making a lot less money. On this job, if you bought base Prisms, you're only up $60. I mean, yeah, you're up for sure, but you factor in a 10% eBay fee on that, depending on how you acquired it. Maybe you bought it at a show and you didn't pay $200 for it. Maybe you paid $180 or $175 or traded into it or whatever. You got into it for that price and you could sell it today at $260. So let's say you're at a show, you could move it for $225. Basically, let's say you made about $25 a card on that. Now, if you just bought one, don't get me wrong, make it $25 to some people. That's a decent chunk of change. But for the amount of time that you had to hold that, is it really worth it? And you had the perfect storm of him starting the season extremely hot. Where on the flip side, if you had the PSA 10, if you bought one PSA 10 silver, now obviously much bigger price point, at $1,325, say $1,300 to keep the math easy, and now it's worth $1,900, even with, let's assume that you bought it for $1,300 cash, and now you're going to go sell it on eBay for $1,950, so you're going to lose a couple $100 on that in fees. That's still a $350 to $400, like a $350 profit off that one card. And then once again, that's assuming that you're buying and selling just strictly on eBay. There's a lot of other angles that you could use this for. Maybe you bought it at a show for $1,100 cash, and now it's worth $1,950, and maybe you use $1,950 as a trade value to move into a bigger card to like get some extra equity on that. Who knows? A lot of different angles you could do it, but I digress. The whole point is, if I had a lot of base stuff, I would be looking to condense my collection, streamline my collection or my portfolio, whatever you want to call it, into other stuff. Hopefully, I think a lot of you guys and girls have been doing that already. I know it's easy to sit here and say that. It's another thing to actually go do it. But I firmly believe, I talked about this recently and in prior videos, I like to run a very lean inventory. All my cards fit in one small 2-row case. I would rather have less stuff, but more meaningful stuff than a bunch of just random base cards. So if I could get rid of 4 base cards for the same player in a silver or holo 9 or 10, depending on price points. That's stuff that I've been looking to do all year, or for the last 6 months since the summer, is continuing to move out of base and put it into other things. As we've talked about, cards that matter, silvers, holos, and color match. So it's just interesting to do the data deep dive on this and kind of see it play out. Like I said, I kind of assumed this. I just didn't look at enough examples to feel comfortable proclaiming it. But now, we looked at 7 different players here across multiple different years. And once again, I think this matters more on the ultra modern to modern stuff. 2018 and 2019 specifically, but we saw it even happening in 2017, and that stuff has a lot lower pop counts. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below, and we will catch you on the next one. Peace.